joining another webinar from the Ability series. Today, we'll be talking about how to help children who are studying in an inclusive school. We would be majorly focusing on collaboration between teachers, special educators, and parents with none other than Dr. Preeti Mathur. She's the Head of Counseling and Special Education Department at DPS Bangalore North. But more about her a little later. Before that, I would like to give you all a brief introduction about Ability. For us as an organization, all carers of children with special needs, you all are at the center of our universe. When I say you all, I include special educators, teachers, therapists, counselors, and of course, parents. Every child wants to thrive, and every child should be given the opportunity to thrive. And I know that every caregiver more or less wants every child to thrive. So, this is why our mission is to make things easier for you all. Our mission is to make things easier for all the caregivers of children with special needs. And when we say easier, we mean making it more accessible, making it more affordable, and of course, making it more effective for you all. And one way we have been able to do that is definitely through the advent of technology and the support of technology. But we also do realize that while technology could help a lot, without the caregivers, technology alone is insufficient. Technology definitely is a support system, but just like technology, there are other support systems required, such as community, such as resources, because no one should have to do this alone, right? And that's what Ability brings to you. Ability brings to you community and support from other resources to enable the best chance of discovering your child's true potential. One way we have been reaching to you through our resources is via our YouTube channel, which has over hundreds of useful videos uploaded and ready for you to watch and mark as favorites in your playlist. If you haven't yet subscribed to our YouTube channel, the link to the channel is being shared in the chat box right now. What you need to do is click on that link and click on the bell icon to subscribe to the channel so that you stay posted about all the upcoming updates from Ability. You can also follow our Facebook page. Thousands of people are already following it. You can join them to stay posted about all the upcoming events, be it webinars and workshops that are being scheduled by Ability, or if we are bringing up new tools to help you better, you can stay posted simply by following our Facebook page. So, and when we say the link for Facebook page is also being shared, you can access it at www.facebook.com/ability. And now this is the most interesting space. This is our own platform, which has the list of all the upcoming events and also all the past ones. So the webinars and the workshops are available on this page on demand, and also for the live ones which are scheduled in the future. You can visit this page at app.ability.com/events. What you need to do is to be able to register for any of the events, be it a workshop or a webinar, you just need to fill these few details. And once you have filled out these few details and you have created a password for yourself, you would be creating an Ability account for yourself. So you would not just be registering for an Ability event, but also be creating an Ability account for yourself. So from next time onwards, whenever you visit the Ability platform, you can simply use your username and password to log into the Ability account, and then you can simply register for any of the event simply by clicking on this button visible over here. So that would be one-click registration. Quite easy and convenient, right? So if you haven't created an Ability account yet, now is definitely the right time. Okay, so these are some of the upcoming workshops. The links to these workshops are being shared in the chat box right now. We have tomorrow Introduction to Remedial English by Dr. Deepa. Then we have Decoding Challenges in Autism Spectrum Disorder by Dr. Neeta Mehta, scheduled for the 27th of March. And for 30th of March, we have Children with ADHD in Different Settings in a Classroom, home, one-on-one, or social situations. So if you're interested in any one of these workshops, you can visit the events page, like I already mentioned, or register for these individual workshops. What you can also do is become an ability member. Now, how is becoming an ability member easier? What do you get? You can get and attend unlimited hands-on training workshops. You can watch unlimited live expert webinars along with Q&A sessions. And of course, you can access unlimited curated resources just by paying a small monthly subscription fee. And if you want, you can also make that quarterly or annual. Just by paying that small fee, you would be able to access all the workshops for free under that ability member access. So if you haven't yet tried, I would suggest and recommend that you must definitely try doing that. And now, without taking much of your time, let me come to today's session, that is by Dr. Preeti Mathur. She's the head of counseling and special education department in the DPS Bangalore North. Like I already mentioned, she handles a team of over 18 people in the special education department, which looks after over 800, close to 800, I believe, children with special needs. So she's doing a fantabulous job there. And with her years of experience of 22 years, she has conducted over 400 programs and counseled over 98,000 participants and over 7,000 professionals on different skills. So her expertise and skill set is definitely a perfect fit to have her here with us today. Welcome, Dr. Preeti. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for a wonderful introduction. And I want to thank Ability to giving me this platform to share my experience with you all. And definitely, I want to say a big thank to my management and my colleagues, my team members who empowered me so that I am going to share the learning which I learned during this tenure in inclusive education with you. So thank you, Swati. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Hello, everyone. So today we are going to talk about how to help children who are studying in an inclusive school. Actually, when we talk about inclusive school, we have to understand what do we mean by inclusive education. We have to identify the importance of inclusive education. We have to talk about challenges of inclusive education. And we have to understand the role of teachers, educators, and parents who are going to help us in setting up the inclusive setup. So we plan the session accordingly. And here we are going to talk about understanding inclusive education, recognizing the challenges to inclusive education, and understanding the role of teachers, educators, and parents. But definitely our presentation or our discussion will not only focus on teachers, educators, and parents. We are going to talk about others also. So Swati, can we start? Can we move to next slide? Okay. When we talk about inclusion, we usually talk that all children or all people, regardless of their abilities or disabilities or their healthcare need, they have right to be respected and appreciated as a valuable member of their communities. Okay, and but when we go in depth in the objective of inclusion, we talk about acceptance and respect to them. Whether they have abilities or disabilities or any sort of need, we have to accept them and we have to respect them. And when we accept and respect them, actually, we celebrate the richness of diversity in the community also. Inclusive education actually come up as a new approach, although it was there, but now after the NEP, we have started talking more and more about inclusive education. And when we talk about inclusive education, actually, we want to give opportunity to all under one roof, same roof, especially children with a special need. But I want to tell you all that inclusive education doesn't mean only for children with special need. Actually, usually people feel that when we are talking about inclusion, we are talking only about children with disability. But actually, when we talk about word inclusion, we have to consider the special need. That's why CWSN, we use the word CWSN. CWSN means children with special need. We are not talking only about children with disability. We are talking about children who are marginalized also because of their socioeconomic status, or because of their geographical area, or gender, or caste, or creed, or some are for example, some are shifted from North India to South India for the education purpose. They don't know the languages spoken in South India. So they are also marginalized. And if we are including those children in our classroom, actually we are accepting them, we are respecting them, and we are making the entire scenario very rich and diverse. Swati, can we go to next slide? Okay. So when we talk about inclusive education, actually there are various principles, but I want to discuss these four principles with you all. One is diversity in the classroom enriches and strengthens education for all. We have a child with disability or child with lower socioeconomic status and higher socioeconomic status together, or a child with different language ability, if all are together, actually the diversity enriches the environment. They share, children actually share their ideas, their languages, their defense, everything. And that enriches the environment. When we talk about inclusive education, actually we follow a child-centric approach. And the curriculum is strength-based. We don't talk about the weaknesses. We try to figure out what are the strengths of that particular group and how we can be a child-centric, and we follow certain rules, regulation. We'll plan our lessons according to the need, and strength-based curriculum actually leads to more learning. I'm not talking about grades. I'm talking about learning. Grades and learning are two different things, and but we have to understand when we are talking about education, we are talking about learning. We are not talking about grades. And we have seen from last few years, and even the research has shown that inclusive education definitely strengthens the learning process. Okay. When we work in inclusive schools or in inclusive education, actually we cater all diverse needs of learner and facilitates the learning process. And the very important thing is, the fourth very important principle is, it leads to the collaboration between all the stakeholders. When I'm going to talk about the stakeholders, I'm going to talk about schools, because without a school, we can't assume we cannot assume inclusive education. And school or a management play a very important role in inclusive education. Another stakeholder, which is very important, is parent. Definitely, the child belongs to parent. But when we talk about inclusive education, it belongs to all of us. All of us means it belongs to school, it belongs to teacher, it belongs to a special educator, it belongs to the tutor who is tutoring the child outside the school, even to the therapy center. So when we all collaborate, then actually inclusive education works. And this collaboration is very important, and that makes inclusive education very important. When we collaborate and when we work for the children in an inclusive setup, actually we respect the diversity. We value and accept the strengths of the child. Whether the child is having low self-esteem or high self-esteem, it doesn't matter to us. When we value and accept, definitely the self-esteem will improve. There are various benefits of inclusion to not only to the children with special need, it is for all. They learn the friendship skill, they learn the peer modeling, they learn the problem solving skills, they learn positive self-image. They develop the positive self-image and respect for others. And this can trickle down to their families as well. When it is trickling down to the family, actually it teaches parents and families to be more accepting to the differences. So it is not only important for the child with difficulty or child with special need, but it is important for all the stakeholders who are working together. It is seen that in the schools, usually we have labs, we have libraries, we have playground, we have corridors, but sometimes we are not able to utilize, we are not able to utilize the spaces effectively. But when we use effective inclusive practices, actually we create resources using those places. So every corner of the school or every corner of the uh, 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 work as a resource in inclusive education. So maximum utilization of resources happen when we talk about inclusive education. Definitely, teachers are very important in inclusive education. They have to understand the needs and strength of the child uh, and plan accordingly. It put pressure on them, but definitely, I am as a teacher, I can assure you, if you are going to follow the inclusive education and if you are adapting the inclusive education strategies in the class, you will see the children, the holistic development of the children, which is the ultimate aim of all the teachers. We usually use differentiated instruction to increase student engagement when we are working in inclusive education. We provide academic support to all the children to assess the full curriculum. When we talk about inclusive education, uh, we may have children with disability. For example, if I have a child with ASD or ADHD, and some are having some behavioral concern, and if we make a policy or make a schedule for them for behavioral support, definitely it is going to help each and everyone in the class, not only the child with ASD or ADHD, it is going to help each and everyone in the class. So all these pointers, although researchers has proved that, and we are working, we can say that inclusion facilitate the richness of general curriculum. It improves and motivates children to do much better, and it helps in developing relationships also. So it is very important to have inclusive education, and we are lucky that now NEP is there and we have to follow the inclusive education. Definitely we will help each other and try to make our community more inclusive to all. But definitely it's not a easy way. There are challenges in inclusive education. Swati, can we move to the next slide?
Looks like Dr. Preeti is facing some network challenges, and we are trying to reach to her, and she'll connect with us shortly. And we'll keep you posted. Meanwhile, like she was talking about inclusive education, if you have any questions or queries related to inclusive education, or you have any concerns, you can put that in the chat box. Also, since we have recently launched the Ability Membership Program for professionals, we would love to hear from you. What are some of the workshop topics that you would want to attend? So, if you could put in those suggestions also in the chat box, we would be really grateful, because that will help us plan the content better for you all. I'm hoping that Dr. Preeti resumes shortly. And yeah, like I was already mentioning, our team members have already shared the links to register for the next webinar and the links to register for the upcoming workshops. So if you would like to register for any of those workshops or for the upcoming webinar scheduled on 7th of April. You could check the link that is being shared in the chat box right now, and you can register simply. Hi, Dr. Preeti, could you hear us now?
Yes, yes, yes. Sorry, I think I got disconnected. I was talking and I got disconnected.
Yeah.
I
You
think
can resume
we
talking
talked
from
about
here.
importance of inclusive. Thank you so much. These are the technical glitches in webinars, but I think if we are learning from each other, it's okay. So now I am going to talk about the challenges in inclusive education. When we are working with children with special need, we have to understand their complex needs also, because each and every one is different. Each and every child is different, whether they have a disability or something else. So we have to understand their specific needs when we are going to talk about inclusive education. And frankly, it is not an easy task. You have to take help of special educators. We have to take help of the other stakeholders also when we plan for inclusive education. Another challenge which we usually face in society is bias social attitude. When we talk about inclusion, we are going to talk about marginalized category also. We are not going to talk about only children with disability. When we talk about inclusion, we are going to talk about marginalized due to socioeconomic status or because of geographical area. So usually in communities and in societies, we have some biased social attitude, and those social attitude actually make challenge for us as a in a inclusive education. I think we can work together to remove that with the training programs, with webinars, and all those things. And awareness programs are very much needed for social attitude. Negative attitude of teachers also play a very challenging role in inclusive education. Actually, each and every teacher has different teaching style. They want to teach according to their way. But now we don't have to be a teacher. We have to be a facilitator. Our roles are changed now. So we are changing, the scenario is changing, the time is changing. So definitely we have to work on the negative attitude of teachers. So in today's webinar, I'm going to talk some strategies, how teachers can work on the things, but definitely it's a very big topic. We can do multiple webinars on that. Sometimes in inclusive education, we feel that there is a scarcity of resources, but if there is a will, there is a way. So there is a roadmap to be inclusive. First thing which we have to do is we have to assess, we have to explore the importance of welcoming environment. If we welcome, what are the benefits we will get if we are going to inclusive? First, try to check out whether you are prepared or not. Check out your attitude, whether you are able to, whether you are willing to embrace inclusion or not. And if you are able to, go for another step. Otherwise, work on attitude, because now inclusion is need of the day, and we have to work together. You have to do partnership. You have to communicate with others. You have to make policy for yourself, for your organization, for your school, how you are going to be inclusive. And you have to create opportunities for all. And we have to start from the top. So now I'm going to share some strategies how you can start. Swati, can we go to next slide? Okay. First, we have to understand, just to assess our thing, first we have to understand what do we mean by inclusive school. Actually, there are some characteristics of inclusive school. We try to manage the differences among the children by recognizing their strength and weakness. This is what we as a teacher are doing from very long. Actually, we have strategies. We are doing UTs, we are giving them exams, we are giving them assignment, we are giving them projects, we are observing them, we are giving them role plays, and different activities will give us an idea about the strength and the weakness of the child. We are not demanding, when we are calling for inclusive school, we are not demanding anything different from you. We are just asking you to recognize the strength and weakness of the child. You can talk to the child, you can talk to the peers, you can talk to the teacher, other teachers, you can talk to the families, you can talk to the tutors. You will get to know the strength and weakness of the child. You can get to know what type of learning will help, what learning style the child is having, and how you can help. And if you are planning your lessons according to the need of the child, definitely you can use various teaching strategy. And those strategies are not going to help only one child or the children with a special need. It is going to help each and every individual in the class. Sometimes it happens that we have to modify the curriculum. Modification of the curriculum doesn't mean that you have to delete the portion or delete the content. You have to simplify the content. Simplify the content according to the need of the child. Make it according to the need of the child. If a child is able to understand the things with the visual clues, give the visual clues. Ask them to represent, give the answers with the flow charts. If they are comfortable with the pointers, ask them to give the pointers. If they are uh, uh, able to do, give the answers according to their wish. And that's what is mentioned in uh, when we talk about universal design of learning. When we talk about universal design of learning, there are three principles actually. One is principle of engagement. Engage the child. And that engagement happens when we know the strengths and weaknesses of the child. We will engage the child when we give something very interesting to them. Second important point is principle of representation. You give them opportunity to represent their needs, their learning. We don't have to, usually when we talk about the learning, we go to the grades, but there are various ways to understand how the child learned, what the child learned. Grades are not the criteria when we talk about inclusive education. Definitely, we cannot exclude grades from our system very soon, but in an inclusive setup, we work on a holistic development of the child. So we work on the representation part also. However, they want to show their learning, the opportunity should be given to them. And the third very important principle of universal design of learning is uh, give them opportunity to express the way they want to express. If they want to give answers with a role play or a drama or a flow chart or a diagram or any way, or making a movie or a presentation, anything, you are going to give them opportunity to fit into the system. And curriculum modification, simplify the content. And if you follow these UDL of engagement, representation, and expression, I'm sure it is very easy for each and everyone to feel accepted in the system. You have to mobilize the resources to provide the quality education to all children. We have n number of resources which are not used in school. And if we mobilize those resources, each and every member of the school, each and every corner of the school has ability to be a resource, whether it is a human resource or any other type of resource. But we have to think creatively. And so I can say that inclusive school has given us opportunity to be more creative in terms of all aspects. And the core belief in inclusive education is involvement and cooperation of educators, teachers, parents. So I'm sure you all will agree to this. And if you have any query, you can ask questions at the end. We will move ahead. Swati, please, can we go to the next slide? Okay. So when I talk about all the stakeholders, we have to understand in an inclusive school, what role we have to play. So as a parent, we have to get to know our child's specific need, and we have to provide them safe space, because when we talk about uh, rights, we have to give the all basic rights to the child. It come up with the responsibility. We have to provide, we have to be responsible for our child needs, especially when the child is having any sort of disability. So try to provide the environment that is safe and develop a mutual respect with your child. Understand that respect is also a right of the child. Okay. uh, and when you are coming to school for admission, and definitely in an inclusive school, uh, share your concern openly with the teachers and professionals who are working in the field. And if you are giving the correct information, they will definitely try to figure out how they can help. By chance, if they don't have resources, they will try to generate the resources because community is there to help them. So if you are sharing your concern openly with the professionals and you are open to the suggestions, definitely you very well fit into the inclusive setup. And don't be ashamed or blame yourself for your child's disability. Especially this slide is meant for parents who have children with disability. For others, definitely few pointers are same, but definitely we have to accept, we have to develop that mutual respect with the child and provide discipline when it is effective and appropriate. Okay, and the very important point is involve yourself in child's education. This is very important point. When children feel that my parents are involved in my education, they feel motivated. But definitely individual differences are there. You have to check again and again whether your child is comfortable or not. I think that's another issue which we have to discuss, but later. Can we move to next slide, please? Okay. Now, when we are talking about inclusive education, we have to start from the top. Okay. We as a special educator or a counselor or a parent, we can't work like that. First thing, as a school management, we have to convince school and school management. If school and school management is supportive and ready to provide administrative structure to us, then only inclusive education is possible. I interacted with many teachers. They are very much willing to provide inclusive education to students, but the school management is not supportive. So I think we have to start from the top. As a school management or a school leader, I think you have to focus on transformation of a regular classroom or education system to respond to different learner in a constructive and a positive way. Because government has given a number of policies, Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan and NEP and all those things. And sometimes the schools are forced, sometimes the school feel that they are forced to include all those things. But if you are open to all these things, and if you have the administrative structure, if you have a policy, and if you are ready to work together, definitely it is going to help. Okay, so first, I think the important role is of school and the management, what they have to do to be inclusive. So some suggestions are there. They have to provide administrative structure and ways to relate the children with diversity in terms of physical changes in arranging the classroom. For example, if a child is having a physical difficulty, then we should have a provision of ramps or a lift in the school. Or if it is not feasible, then in that case, I think we can arrange the class in the ground floor only. We don't have to ask them to go up on the top floors or up floors. In the washrooms, we have to give that railings so that they are supported there. So, there are various ways. So some physical changes are required when we talk about inclusive education. And if school management and school agree to that, it becomes very easy to include all, actually. We have to make school policy and procedure to support inclusion. We have to train the teachers. We have to provide opportunities to teachers to get training, modify the instructional dimension, instructional methods, lesson plans according to that. Okay, we have to procure and a resource room where all the necessary resources are there, and they help the teachers and others. Uh, Especially in case of children with special needs, sometimes we need a shadow teacher to support them, especially when there are behavioral concern or when we need to have. So if school management agree to have such shadows in the class, then definitely it become very easy to be inclusive. Government has given, even all the boards have given different exam concession to support CWSs. So if we go through that, and if we are ready to that and provide avenues to that, inclusion is not a difficult task actually. And as NEP has come up, appointment of qualified education, special educator and counselors is mandatory. So if management agrees to that, definitely it becomes very easy to be inclusive. And community involvement by training of teachers and support staff and orienting the parent will definitely play an important role in managing children in school. So it goes to the management, and how much they are going to accept, it depends on that. But as a teacher, what we can do? So we are going ahead. Swati, can you change the slide, please? Okay. First thing, you have to understand your learner and their learning style. So teachers, it's very easy. I'm sure that you all are aware that there are three ways through which we learn. One is auditory, one is visual, one is kinesthetic, and sometimes one type of learning style dominate. But usually we have a combination of all these traits. So if a teacher know कि many maximum number of students are auditory learners or a visual learner, and if they plan their curriculum or a lesson plan accordingly and activities accordingly, then definitely all the learners will learn. So teachers, first you have to understand your learner, which type of learner your learners are. But definitely before learning about your learner, you have to understand your teaching style also. So there is one slide for you also. Swati, can we go to next slide, please? Okay. So teachers, understand your teaching style. Some teachers are very formal. They focus on content. They try to control the flow of content, and students are expected to be passive. They have to follow the rules and regulations. This type of classes are usually traditional classes. Some teachers are demonstrator. They emphasize on demonstration and modeling. They give examples, and some teachers are facilitators. They promote student-centered learning and focuses on learning and teaching through activities. Some teachers are delegator. They give importance to students. They give projects, they give opportunity to conduct quiz or role plays and other. So understand your unique teaching style and try to shift from one to another, because in some cases we have to be formal authority. In some cases, we have to be demonstrator. Some cases, we have to be facilitator or delegator. So first understand your unique teaching style, and then try to shift to another thing. And if you need any help, talk to your colleagues. You may find someone using different strategy and doing the same teaching and learning for the student, and just check out your style. And if you are able to understand your teaching style, and if you are able to shift from one to another while planning the lesson, will make the classroom very inclusive. Next slide, please. Okay. So there are some strategies which you can use. First, check yourself and your teaching style. Check the abilities of your child, the student in your class, their strengths and weakness. And when you are going to the class, come to your class with a fresh and open mind. Always use positive and proactive approach. Be respectful. Create an opportunity to listen to all children. When you are planning your lessons, give an opportunity to all children to participate. You can use role play method, you can use drama method, you can use group study method, or any method you can use. Okay. But definitely, when we are working in inclusive setup, there are behavioral concerns. But because when there is flexibility, children uh, try to basically take advantage also. So, in a classroom of inclusive school, especially, you have to define minimum standard of behavior, and you have to enforce it consistently. This is very much important factor. Okay. You have to display the timetables and key information and let children choose their way to show their what they have learned. I spoke about universal design of learning and the principles of engagement, representation, and expression. I think if you are using, definitely you will be able to identify how much the child is learning. Definitely, you have to work on the seating arrangement of the child. If the child is having some sort of disability like ADHD or autism, usually in their reports, the professionals mention what type of seating arrangement is comfortable for them. So usually it is preferred that they have to be seated in the center, in front of the teacher, faced away from the window or the door. So if we are following those strategies given by the professionals in their reports, it is very much easy to have the children with disability in the classroom. But definitely, if we are going to talk about, if we are talking about the inclusive classroom strategy, uh, I think we have to be more creative, more innovative in making it more inclusive. And if you find any difficulty, please talk to someone for ideas to deal with. It may be a teacher, or it may be a professional in the field, or maybe anyone whom you rely. They will definitely give you an idea how you can make your classroom inclusive. So now we will move ahead. Swati? Okay. So now in schools, the school are appointing special educators and counselors. And what are the roles of inclusive special educator and counselor in inclusive setup? So I'm going to talk about that. Usually, special educators and counselors help teachers as well as parents and the students also to understand and evaluate the unique needs of their unique needs. Okay. And according to their need, they formulate individualized counseling plan or individualized educational plan to cater their unique needs. Okay. So according to their needs, they discuss it with the teachers, they discuss it with the parents, discuss with the other stakeholders. And in a resource room, they provide the appropriate resources and instructional material to train the teacher. Sometimes, sometimes we need shadow teachers with the children. In that case, a special educator and counselor train and assign tasks to shadow teachers. They monitor the growth and evaluate the process also. Sometimes they have given responsibility for in-house training of teachers in the school to help the children with special need and handle them and support in better way. Here, I'm not going to talk, I'm not talking only about children with disability. I'm talking about all other children who have specific needs or special needs. Usually, special educators has to conduct some awareness workshop for parents just to create awareness, and for students, for peers also, to empower them to handle those cases in the class. They have to make a bridge. They have to work as a bridge between school, teacher, parent to facilitate the holistic development of the students. And external references, and sometimes we need some external references. For example, if the child need, especially the children with disability, sometimes they need extra support in terms of occupational therapy or speech therapy or a physiotherapy. In that case, the role of a special educator and counselor is to provide the external references and coordinate with those external authorities or external facilities to help the child in a holistic way. So this is the role of educator. So I think I have defined the role of school, the role of parent, role of teachers, and role of special educator. Go to the next slide, please. But I think there are various more ways to be inclusive. I'm going to share 6 more ways. Start from the top. If you want to be inclusive, talk to your school, talk to your management first. If they are convinced, definitely they will provide you all the venues to be inclusive. Okay. When we talk about inclusive education, I think we have to focus on inclusive selection and recruitment strategy. Usually there is, people feel that when we are going to talk about inclusive education, we will take each and every one. But there are limitations. I think we have to focus on our limitations also, whether we are resourceful or not. So focus on inclusive selection. If you have resources to help all, definitely take them, help them, empower them, but check your resources. Focus on inclusive selection. Provide the safe spaces. Don't take students or children with a special need just to show. Provide them safe spaces. Provide a space where they were not bullied, where they are accepted, they are respected. They can collaborate with others. They can connect with all in sensitive manner. Okay, so we have to provide the opportunity to all in a sensitive manner. We have to plan different strategy to provide feedback. Don't assess them only on the base of grades. Again and again, I'm focusing on that because usually people feel that who are scoring good grades are actually good, but it is not the right way. We have to see how much the child learned. Learning should be the criteria. There are various ways. You can see the confidence, you can see the other landmarks, their problem solving ability, their decision making ability, their communication style, their dealing with stress, dealing with emotion. All the life skills are important. If we plan our different strategies to check out and without focusing on grades, I think we are going to be more inclusive. And always ask for feedback to improve diversity and inclusion. Ask feedback from the child with whom you are working. Ask feedback from the parents. Sometimes the children are not vocal because of their disability. In that case, but I can say that non-verbal clues speaks more than words. You have to identify the way to take the feedback. So ask for the feedback from the parents, from the teachers, from your colleagues, your school, and from the community also, whether you are in right direction or you have to change your strategy. So this is what I want to say about uh, the topic, how to help children who are studying in inclusive education. Thank you so much. And now if you have any query, I think you can ask questions.
So much, Dr. Preeti. That was an amazing session. I'm pretty sure people must have learned a lot and must have got a very clear idea of an inclusive setup. We have been receiving a lot of questions, and I would also request people to send in their questions to the chat box if they have anything to ask from the speaker. We will try and cover as many as possible, as much as the time permits. So the first question that we have, before moving on to the Q&A segment, I would like to inform the attendees very quickly once again that if you wish to attend any of the upcoming workshops or the webinars from Ability, the links to those workshops and also the webinar is being shared in the chat box right now. You can copy and paste the link and save it if you would want to register later, or you can register right away. Okay, let's move to the questions quickly. So the first one that we have is from Ulisa. Ulisa is asking how to manage students who are joining an inclusive class and if they have behavior problem. We can't give them a lot of attention. She means we can't give attention to other class students, and this particular student is generally always late to submit the homework, and we can also not be strict, but maybe they are setting an example for others. So how to manage the expectation setting of other students in a classroom?
Okay, here I want to share one case study. We had a child with.
Hi, Dr. Preeti. I think so. There's some difficulty. We could not hear you very clearly.
Oh, is it okay now? Is it okay now?
We cannot hear you. Could you try reconnecting maybe?
I could hear Swati.
Hello.
Yeah, I could hear what Dr. Preeti was saying actually.
Okay. Okay. So here I want to share the idea which we used in our school. We had a child with a ASD, and he was always out of the place, and he was not ready to listen to the teacher. Is it okay? Is it okay?
Can other members in the webinar hear Dr. Preeti?
Yeah, I can hear.
Thank you so much. I think so there's some network
Okay.
issue at my end.
So what we did, we asked, we take help of the child. First, we try to figure out the strengths and the weakness of the child. The child need that because of his attention deficit and ASD issue, he was not able to listen to the teacher's instruction for more than 20 minutes. So what we did, we asked the child to make a behavioral checklist for all of the students in the class. That responsibility was given to the child. He made a poster, he pasted it in the class, and every day morning, he had in each and every class, he has to enforce that. He has to read that and tell others that they have to follow that. When he is giving instructions to other, he actually giving instructions to himself. And that strategy really worked well with the child. So I think we have to be innovative, and first we have to check out the strength and the weakness of the child. We have to give opportunity to the child to tell how we can behave in that manner. And usually when we check the strengths and weakness of the child, we will be able to manage them very well in the class. Swati?
Looks
I
like
am still
Swati is
facing
not-
some difficulty in hearing you very clearly. There's seems to be a technical glitch, but I believe you have answered the question going by your expression. So I'll move on to the
I
next
think I
one.
will show you
The
thumbs
next
up
one
that I
is
am
from
done with my...
Janred. Janred is asking, how can we know if the child is eligible for inclusive education? Janred is from Philippines and says that here in Philippines, it's a tough challenge for parents of children with disabilities enrolled in inclusive education because these kids are prone to bullying and other difficulties in the school, and they have a difficult time in adapting to a normal class setup, especially more so during this pandemic. So how can we help the likes of Janred?
Okay, so when we have to give admission to children in inclusive education, actually we have to check the school readiness. There is a prerequisite to all, actually. First, the child should be able to sit at one place, follow the instruction, and at least able to do the ADL things, activities of daily living. If the child is able to do that much, I think school will give the opportunity for social interaction. So as a parent, I think first we have to work on their sitting tolerance. We have to work on their instruction. But because of their disability, it may be difficult for parents to do all the things. But at least if the child is easily going with one person or two-person, I think we have to start with a smaller setup. Then we have to move to another one. And along with the shadow, if school permits, we can allow any child in the class. So first, check out the basic things. If the child is able to communicate the needs, basic needs, then definitely the child is ready for the school. If the child is able to follow the instruction or ready to have some learning, then only inclusive schools are really helpful. Otherwise, I think specialized training centers are much better option. So check the abilities of your child, check the strengths and the weakness of your child, and accordingly do the thing. When we talk about bullying, I think it can happen with any one of us. So it is very much important to understand that if the child is having that ADL, and if the child is able to communicate that he or she is bullied, I think they are in the safer space. That's why I'm again and again talking about the safer space. If child is not able to communicate their safety issues, I think they are not ready to be inclusive in inclusive school. So before going for an inclusive school, check the basic requirement. basic needs, and then only go ahead with that.
Sure. Checking
Swati,
the
you can
basic
go
needs
for
is,
next question if you
yeah,
have.
yeah. Yes, I do have a lot of questions, and now I could hear you very clearly. Seems there was some technical glitch. Thank you so much for bearing with the technical glitch, dear audience, and also Dr. Preeti. The next one that we have is from Geeta Narayan Swami. Geeta is saying that a child, I'm sorry, a child is 5 years old with mild autism spectrum disorder. So she wanted to ask what are some of the things she should watch out for in a school setting, and should she volunteer her child's diagnosis to the teachers, because she believes that some teacher in the inclusive setting seem to stigmatize her son, who is excellent otherwise in academics but have self-stimulatory speech, which makes him look weird when she would try to volunteer the diagnosis in front of teachers. So she's asking for advice that what should she do as a parent.
Hello. Sorry, at this, now I got disconnected.
No, yeah, sure.
Hello,
Do you
am
want
I
me to
audible?
repeat the question? Yes, you are. Do you want me to repeat the question? This question was being
Yes,
asked
yes,
from
yes.
Geeta. Geeta was saying that her child is 5 years old with mild autism spectrum disorder. So she wanted to understand what are some of the things one should watch out for in a school setting, and should she volunteer the diagnosis to the teachers, because she believes that some teacher in the inclusive setting seem to stigmatize her son, who is otherwise excellent in academics but have self-stimulatory speech, which makes him look weird if she volunteers the diagnosis in front of teachers. So, what should she do as a parent?
I think she is in a right direction. She has to talk to the teachers about the difficulty the child is facing, because it may be possible the teacher is not trained to handle such children and may stigmatize the child. It may happen. In that case, I think if she is talking to the school management and school counselors, they will help the child in the classroom. And the child is having mild ASD, initially, definitely they will need support from others. So usually in our school, we ask them to come, ask mothers to come as a shadow along with the child. Once the child is adjusted in the class, once the teacher is get acquainted with the needs of the child, then we slowly actually wean off the support of the mother. And sometimes it happens in 15 days only, sometimes case to case it differs. So I think Geeta is in right direction. She has to speak to the teachers, she has to speak to the school, she has to speak to the school counselors and special educators for the support, and provide her own helping hand for the benefit of the child. Because a teacher has to handle various students in the class, and they may feel that they are not equipped to handle the child with ASD in the class. So if the support is provided by the teacher, to the teacher by the parent, I think it is the best option given to. Instead of shadow teacher,
Totally.
we prefer mothers as a shadow teacher in our school.
Yeah, parents are the best teachers, the first and the best teachers indeed. And I think so with the concept that you just told, that could be proven further. Since we are running short of time, I'll quickly move to a few of the next questions. The next one is from Tina. Tina is saying that there's one teacher in a class of 40 kids in a classroom along with a special kid. So, what should the teacher do to manage the classroom environment in such a way that she's able to accelerate the teaching learning process for others also, as well as the special kid also?
Okay. Identify the needs of each and every child of the class. I'm not talking only about the children with disability. If you understand the needs and strengths and weaknesses of all the class students, I think you can plan your session accordingly. You can use differential activities in the lesson plan. Sometimes you have to engage the child of it. I have seen in the classes that children with special need, if attention is given to them, they perform well. Usually their seating arrangement is in middle of the classroom, teacher attention is given to them. And as a teacher, if teacher is giving importance to them, sometimes other students feel that they are neglected. So as a teacher, if we know the strength and weakness of each and every child, I think we can give responsibility of children with disability to some child who is very empathetic, who is ready to help the child. And you can give turns to turn to other children also to be with that child. Once there is a bonding between the students, I am sure the teacher don't have to work. The peer will play important role of facilitator in teaching learning process. They will tell you how to teach, how to go ahead with the lessons. So I think you have to be creative and innovative. In a class of 40, it is not very difficult. In our school, our teachers really working hard, and they are able to manage it. Thanks to all the teachers who are working in DPS North, they are really special to us.
Totally. And thanks to your able leadership and guidance that they are able to do so effortlessly. Moving on to the next question. This is from Kanika Bharara. We have a lot of school administrators who have joined today's session as well. So from this community, they wanted to understand how to convert a regular school into an inclusive setup and what resources are essentially required to initiate this process.
Okay. First, you have to check how inclusive you want to be. When we talk about inclusion, we are not talking only about disability. Again and again, I'm saying so. Whether we are going to, if you are including the marginalized community also, you are becoming inclusive. Okay. You have to check out your resources. And if you are going to take children with disability in the school, you have to make certain changes, especially when the children are having physical disability. For other type of disability, if I'm talking about learning disability or others, you don't have to make major infrastructural changes. But definitely for physical disability or mobility disabilities, you have to make some infrastructural changes. For visually impaired, you should have some sign language thing, or sorry, for auditory learners, auditory impaired. For visual learners, braille thing, just to show them the paths. And once they are trained, I'm sure they don't need any sort of support. Railings or ramps or lifts are actually needed. So in our school, according to the need, we are developing the infrastructural resources according to the need of the children. And definitely, we have to go step by step. Second thing, which is very important for a administrator to do, is to make a policy for inclusion. What they want in inclusion, how they will be inclusive, how they will move ahead. And I think they can take help of their special educators in the and even the respected community members to make the policy. And once the policy is done, you have to talk to your teachers. You have to empower them with the training programs, and you have to appoint special educators and counselors. And uh, you have to have that licensing between the centers which are working with the children with special needs, especially when we are talking about children with disability. So if you are licensing with them, definitely, so it's a step, one by one you can go ahead. But one thing is, first you have to check your assess and attitude. And once it is done, partnership, communication, and everything is very feasible. And I think my Manju ma'am is always ready to help others in setting up the inclusive school. They can contact DPS North for that.
Totally. That's really nice. And with leaders like you, I think so, making inclusion a part of our society would get easier. Since we're running short of time, I'll take two last questions for today's session. The next question that we have is from Subhadra, who is watching us live on Zoom. So Subhadra is asking us if you could explain more about differentiated instructions. She wanted to understand the importance of differentiated instructions in an inclusive setup.
Okay. When we talk about differentiated instructions, actually, usually when we give instruction in the class, we say, look at the board. Tell me something. or explain this. But when we have a children with difficulty or disability in the class, we have to be more conscious about what the word we are using. And when we talk about differentiated instruction, I think we have to use different we have to use different methodologies to convey the same topic. Okay, for example, if I am going to teach a lesson in history, and if I am using a differentiated learning method, I can use a role play in my class. I can use PPT slides. I can show different movie clippings just to explain the same concept. So if we are using differentiated method to explain one concept, then we are using differentiated learning style. For example, if I am talking about the water cycle, I am going to show a cartoon, I am going to show a movie, I am going to give an experiential learning session for the kids. They will do an experiment and learn how the things are working. So these methods, we have to be more innovative and more creative when we use differentiated learning. And I think if you Google about it, you will get a number of things about differentiated learning method.
Totally.
And I think
The next,
Ability is working on these resources, and you can access the resources from Ability platform also. We are
sure.
taking help
Thank
of.
you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Preeti, for mentioning that. Yes, Ability has a bunch of resources on our platform. So if you do want to visit, create an Ability account, and you will not just be able to access the already available resources, you can also add and submit resources that you have collected as a professional or as a teacher and submit to the Ability platform. We would review it, and if we find it to be useful for many others, we could publish those resources so that it could help the special education community. Okay, moving on to the last question for today's session. This is from Bindu. Bindu wanted to understand, how are schools equipped to teach and engage children who use AAC for communication, or they are minimally verbal? I am not sure if I understand the full form of AAC, but I'm sure
AAC.
Dr. Preeti will do.
Okay, even I don't know the meaning of AAC, but
Okay.
keeping the complete who are non-verbal or very minimal verbal, how we can
Hmm.
incorporate that. I
Right.
think there are various ways through which, actually, when we talk about inclusive education, we are not talking only about academic learning. We are talking about the holistic development. Huh? So the child who is not verbal may be coming to school for a social interaction. Because children learn by observing others also. The child is who is having a minimal verbal communication may interact with other kids through non-verbal clues also. Huh. They can learn the love, the empathy, the sympathy, the anger, and they show their emotions in a different way. Okay, so inclusive setup usually give them a platform for the social interaction. And definitely, if one-on-one attention is given to them with the help of shadow, they will continue with the academic progress also. We have few children in our school who are non-verbal or almost minimal verbal communication is there, and they are doing excellent in academically, and parents actually are sending them for the social interaction. The child is having ASD, with whom I am mentioning here. The child is having mild ASD, and she is non-verbal type of person. She loves to draw. So whatever she has to communicate, she actually communicate through drawing. There is one more child in our school. He is verbal, but he don't know how to communicate effectively verbally.
Right.
So he usually do drawings. He usually use music to communicate his emotion. So there are different ways, and I think we have to give opportunity to children to express their learning and their feelings and their emotions in a different way and the way they prefer. The only thing is we have to open our minds, we have to open ourselves to accept them in the school. Hope I have given the answer to the question.
Definitely you have, and I think so. I am seeing a fantastic play of, community members helping one another while going through the chat box. So Bindu asked her question related to AAC. The full form was told by 5 other members who are watching us live. I think so. I believe if our members are correct, it is augmentative and alternative communication. And to your point, what you have answered, I think so. Those strategies will definitely help for children who are minimally verbal. So, yeah, now that brings us to the end of today's session. Thank you, dear audience, for being such an engaged and attentive audience. You answer some of the questions of the community members already. So I think so that is what the mission of Ability is, to enable you all to help each other, to enable you all to connect with one another, so that ultimately the students can benefit, so that things become easier for the caregivers and special educators. Thank you so much, Dr. Preeti, for such an amazing and interesting session. Your final parting words about today's session and also your experience.
I want to say, if there is a will, there is a way. If you want to be inclusive, nobody will stop. And I think resources will come to you, and the community, and even the God will show you the way. So if there is a will, there is a way. So try to be inclusive, and I'm sure if you work in an inclusive setup, you will feel that you have done something good. And you can see my team, you can see the people with whom I am working, and you can see the happiness in their face, and that will bring the blessings to you. That will bring a feeling of that complete holistic development of yourself also. So try to be inclusive as possible. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Definitely. And when there is a will, there is a way. What a wonderful message that you have ended the session with. Dear people, do not forget to share your feedback with us. That will help us improve the experience further for you all. So do share your feedback, and we expect to see you in our upcoming webinars and workshops. So stay tuned with Ability Sessions. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. That brings us to the end.